Hey guys, Aaron Carr here, coach of Wise Ocean Pods, and welcome back to another episode of our Trade Mode series. On today's episode, we will be talking about the most popular trade in and trade out targets of around 22. Can you believe it? Only 3 weeks of trades left to go. So six trades total. Let's make sure we make them count. Let's get straight into it, as you know we like to do around here. So we'll start with the trade out targets. We'll go with Billy Dowling is the number one trade out target this week with 8.8k coaches trading him out, and I think it's a perfect option. He is 517k, break even to 57 now, so pretty much topped out in cash. It's a perfect option this week. You've got plenty of options down pretty low at that 200k range to jump off him, trade in a 200k player, bank that 300k or close to it, and then that facilitates your trades on the other end, where a lot of people are going from, a Grundy or a English to a Marshall and Cherry, who are well over $1 million. So that makes it a really easy trade to do. So you have plenty of cash, and it also banks a lot of cash for next week as well. So if you're looking to do a few things next week, then you should have no dramas with having a bit of cash banked in the bank. So yeah, absolute great option. I think this is a pretty common theme across the week. A lot of these maxed out rookies are being traded out. So Logan Evans, a lot of people traded him out last week. He is going number 2 this week at 4.1k coach trading him out, and very similar argument. It's perfect. Just do what I think. You don't want to be having these guys, too expensive guys on the bench. You really want to be maximizing that on field as much as possible. So that is perfect. Reminder, you do want to still have a bit of cover, so as long as you have a bit of cover at each line, just in case something does go wrong, you're not just left with a zero. You have something. So yeah, I would still highly recommend, and we'll probably get into it a little bit when we go through the trade-ins, is that you're not just trading in a red dot, and if you don't have a cover on that line, you got to still try and get some cover. But we'll continue down here. Brody Grundy is number 3 with 4k coaches trading him out. I think it's great. He's just been underperforming. Like, he's not been great for a little while now. Like, he's popped a few, a few over hundreds here, like 110, 109. But in the last 6 weeks, he realistically has only gone over 100 two times. So, and dropped a few 80s and even a 74 in there. So he's just well off the pace. And when we're talking about Cherry and Marshall, they're putting 50, 60, 70 points on top of his head every single week. So that's a huge difference, and I think you just need to right the wrong. I'm doing something very similar this week with going English to Marshall this week, and then that makes me just run Cherry and Marshall for the rest of the week, for the rest of the year. Sorry. So I think you just have to get that done. I think that's obviously what everyone's doing. So I think that's just something you need to do there. Same argument with English. He's been okay, to say the least, at least since the bye. I don't even know what he'd be averaging. I'll go here. His last 5 average is 109, which is very drastically inflated by that 131. You've got a couple 111 and a 116 in there, but he has recently come up against a couple of harder opponents in Grundy and Max, where he put up a 91 and a 98. His run isn't great though. He's still, like, this week isn't terrible. Like, if it's not an absolute must trade, if you're really struggling for trades and you think, oh, I'll just hold him to English 1 week. He's got O'Brien. O'Brien is quite a easy matchup as well, so it's not like it's going to absolutely kill you. But then definitely next week, where he's got Cherry, I would say you kind of need to start moving him on. That's a bit of a tough matchup. So, but I think you just need to right the wrong. I think we just all need Marshall and Cherry at this point in time, because they're just absolutely going to kill it. You got Marshall, who I shouldn't be talking about him here, but we know how well he's been, so we'll get into him a little bit later. So I love trading out English, and it's exactly what I'm doing this week. Moving down the list, we've also got Lawson Humphreys, again, just another rookie that is worth trading out. It's probably a week or two early. 525k, 21k, sorry. Fremantle this week could still pop a decent week. It depends what line you have in him, in my opinion. Like, if you're having him in the midfield, I don't think you're ever going to loop him. But if you have him in the defensive line and he pops at, another one of these hundreds, then you probably can look to loop him. But I just don't think you're looping in the midfield at this point in time, unless you're certain that one of our midfield premiums are going to get tags. But I don't think that's going to happen quite this week as such. So I'd personally, if you have him in the defense line, you can probably just hold on to him and loop there. But if you're got him in the midfield, then probably look to move him on as such. What happened here? There we go. So Nick Martin is the next one. 2.8k coaches are trading him out. In this one, it's tough for me because I see the matchup and I think he will kill it. I think he'll go really well because we've seen some seen big scores for these distributing defenders against the Suns. You know, you're talking about your Lockie Whitfield, your Dane Zorkos, etc. They've all gone like 130 plus. So I can easily see Nick Martin going 130 here. So that's what scares me the most about wanting to trade him out. But I can understand why people are doing it, where he's only hit one over 100 once in the last 7 rounds. Where while it was a good 143, he did rely on 4 goals in that game, so it wasn't an absolute thrashing from his point of view just by getting pure disposals. It was hitting the scoreboard. Even last week, the thing that absolutely scares you the most is that he kicked 2 goals and he only scored an 86. If he didn't kick those 2 goals, that could have been a high 60, if not just hitting 70s. So that's definitely very scary. You don't want that, and it's definitely dropping a few points to those top line defenders who, we're talking Sinclair, talking Newman, Sheasel as such, and Stewart, and obviously Whitfield's in there as well. So I can see what people are doing. He's got a tough run to finish the last two. I just think for my team specifically, I'm happy to hold him this week and just, see what happens. I can very easily see that a lot of people are going to trade him out and it hurts you for 1 week. I think it's just a 1 week pain to get long term gain. So here's one that I'll probably look to trade out next week. Possibly. I don't know. It's tough. I've got a lot of players that I need to trade out next week with the last 2 games being pretty tough. So, but I think it's just jump off time if you can. He's dropping coin. He's got 875k on his head. You can probably get to. It's actually a downgrade to the likes of a Newman. I think you're paying a little bit for a Sinclair, so I think those will be pretty popular trades there. Graham Myers is next up at 2.7k coaches. He's got Fremantle, so a bit tougher for those small forwards. He's just been pretty mediocre, honestly. He's just been very up and down. He by looking at this pattern, he's gone 67, 116, 52, 98, 53. So by that logic, he is due for 100. So it could definitely blow up in your face. But I think you just have to move off him. I think we have better options at this time of year. Even though these next 2 matches should be very good for him, and he should hit the scoreboard, he just hasn't been that sort of guy as of recently, and they're just not giving the ball to him as much. The marks have dropped off. He's handballing a lot more than he used to as well. So I don't know if the roles changed as such, but yeah, he's just not getting his hands on the ball as much as he has been previously. So I think it's just time to move off. You have a massive downgrade in a Philippou that's nearly 200, 300k cheaper than him. So I think you just go there with a better role. And just going to get his hands on the ball more often. So it's just, a lot of these this week is going to be trading that F6, and just sort of trying to fix it up as best possible. Sean Manor is next up with 2.3k coaches, same as all the other rookies. He's sort of getting to that point where he's getting maxed out on cash. He's 530k, up against Fremantle, 45 break even. I'm inclined to holding him just because I want to loop between him and a few other guys, just because I'm trading at Dowling. So I'd be inclined to hold at least one of Dowling and Manor if you're looping between them. Unless you have another an F7 Primo, then absolutely go ahead, do it. But if you're in my case scenario where he's sort of my F7 at this point in time, and he can put up a decent sort of 70, 80, 90, then I'm just going to keep rolling with that and see how he goes, because he's got quite a good matchup coming on. So I think I'll just run him to the end of the year at this point in time, unless I need to trade him out to facilitate some other trades. Luke Jackson's still there. I can't believe people still have him. How do you still have him? It's just a bit of a joke at this point in time. He needs to go. It's just as simple as that. He is burning you like crazy. So just do it. Keep scrolling when I don't mean to. Irish Filmmaker, people trading him out. I think just wanting to cash out as much as you can. I do like it was a red dot this week, particularly because he does play the second last game of the round, where a lot of these other looping options are playing quite early on. So I think I'll be looping him this week particularly. So keep that in mind. Will Day can go. He's been shocking for a few weeks. Max Holmes has been a little bit disappointing for the last 3 or 4 weeks, 5 weeks even. Only hitting the ton once in that time. Just sort of dropping away from those mainstay guys. So I think it's time you can jump off him and get to a better guy. Don't mind that there. Jordan Clark, again, tough run to finish off the season, but does have a good matchup this week against the Cats. But the Cats are more better for midfielders as such. So I think they're actually quite tough for kick-out defenders. So I absolutely like trading him out, and I'd honestly move off of Jordan Clark than I would off of a Hayden Young this week particularly. So yeah, definitely don't mind this at all. He's been consistent as he has been all year. He hasn't dropped below 85 in the last, what's that, 8 weeks, but he also hasn't gone above 104. So he's just been that consistent sort of 90 to 95 sort of guy for those last 8 weeks. He just hasn't shown that ceiling that he had with that 3 week patch where he went 141, 128, and 151. But that was back when Freo were really chipping around, and we saw Luke Ryan absolutely slobber it too. So the game style has a little bit changed there, so I'm not expecting a ceiling score from him anytime soon. So I think it's a pretty safe play that you could jump off him. He's probably going to put up a 90, and yeah, you're not going to miss it too badly if you can get to someone else that can put up a big ceiling score for you. Isaac Heaney, he's another one that's is getting a bit of interest, a bit of traction now with trading him out. I don't like it as such. I know he's been poor since being suspended and not having the Brownlow, but even before that, he had 2 tougher weeks where he had GWS and Fremantle. He went 86 and 79, and since missing that week of suspension, he's come up against Brisbane, tough matchup, 78. Bulldogs are tough, a little bit. They're probably a neutral matchup. I'll count them as. He's got a 108, so pretty good there. And then against the Port Adelaide, tough matchup, 68, where Swans didn't even show up. So it's sort of how can you get the ball when they can't even get the ball in their hands? So his run to finish off the season is actually pretty good. So I'm inclined to hold him. I did look at it, but I just couldn't do it knowing that he does have a good matchup to finish. And the Swans are going to kick back and form at some point and then start getting ready for finals. So I just couldn't. It's a very risky play. I just couldn't do it, unfortunately. So I don't support that move at all, and hopefully it doesn't throw a few things out for you. We'll do a few more here. Mason Wood is another big trade out again. Put up a 55, just mediocre as an F6. So I think you got a few different other F6 options. So jump off him if you can. The only thing with him is that he's got 2 really good matchups against Richmond and against Cats for the next 2 weeks. So could definitely put up some decent scores against them. I don't really know what scores against wing, because he's more of a winger role, right? He does go sneak forward a little bit and does kick a few goals, but he's more of a winger and does get plenty of marks. So it's one you probably could hold if you're really keen on those matchups. But if he's the only one that you can facilitate your trade, yeah, then you can move him on, I'd say. And just a couple of rookies here, people trading out. I think that sort of does it. People are jumping off Simkin. And I don't mind it. He does have a tough 2 matchups to finish off the year, so definitely could be more of a looking to trade him out early and just start to move him on, because you do have the likes of a Philippou there that is doing the exact same role but actually providing bigger scores. We'll get into him a little bit very shortly, and yeah, I think it's a good move. I think it's an upgrade in a sense. Not going to be a huge point upgrade because the Eagles are a good matchup, but I do really like it. And finally, Tom Green is also there down at 657k. 657 coaches trading him out, which I do like as well. I did trade him out last week, so that will do it for all the trade out targets. Let's go for the trade in targets. So the man of the week, Matthias Philippou, is number 1 traded in. He's been traded in by 8.3k coaches. He's got Richmond this week. He's got Cats next week. He's gonna kill it. He's gonna be he's just gonna be the F6 that we've been looking for a little while. Looking at his last 3 games, he's gone up with Sydney. He scored 117. He's gone up with Adelaide, neutral matchup, 93, and he's gone up against Brisbane with a 96 off that injury. So he's averaging like 102 in his last three. I think that's correct, isn't it? 102 in his last three. Yeah. So his role's changed. He's being that second mid to free in St Kilda, so that's obviously really good for him. He's earned his spot there, so that's why I really like him. The fixture, we've spoken about that already, but yeah, he should kill it with this easy matchup. They love giving it to him. He's hitting the scoreboard quite regularly as well, so could definitely have quite a big ceiling game. And what are you paying? You're paying 525k. It is absolutely nothing. Um, yeah, so it is a really good option. Break even to 1, not that that really matters at this point of year. He's just going to be one that you're going to hold for the rest of the season, and you're just going to sit back and enjoy, because I think we're going to get pretty comfortable with him in the next sort of 12 to 18 months, because a lot of us are going to have him next year. So, yeah, I love it as a trade in to get on board with him. Ron Marshall's number 2 with 4.8k coaches trading him in. I'm doing the exact same this week. Look at the run; it's awesome for Rux. Look at what he's done in the last sort of 6 weeks, or even longer than that. He hasn't dropped below a ton in what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. So 8 weeks on the trot, he has gone over 100, and 5 of those have been above 115. So, and some of them have been pretty tough opponents. So I just expect he's gonna kill it to finish off the season. I think he's going to finish off being the highest averaging player over the entire season, which is just unreal. He's been such a fantasy beast for us for the last 2 years, really, this year and last year. So it's just unreal. So I'm jumping on board. Yeah, just reminiscing when I did trade him earlier in the year, and he put up stinkers. So hopefully I don't break him this time. But yeah, next up is Archie Roberts. He is a defender. He's 240k, break even -13. He's just the rookie that you want to trade in. Put up an 80 in his first game for the Bombers. Did miss him on my review, but I did try and look for him. What can I say? If you're looking for a rookie downgrade, he's probably the option, honestly. He's probably the guy that I'm particularly trading in this week, because I want that defender cover. I only have Tom, what's his name? Pinky. I can't remember his first name. Pinky as my cover, so that's what a 20. I don't really consider as much cover, whereas a Roberts could maybe provide, a 60, if not a 70, with, he put up an 80. So hopefully he stays on that higher end and can produce that again. So I'm just trading him in. I think it's a good option if you're looking for that downgrade. Next up is Jack Sinclair, 3.4k coaches are trading him in. St Kilda just all in favour this week with the matchups and the run they've got. So, yep, I don't mind them there. The conversation what I wanted to spark up is, would you trade in Jack Sinclair or Nick Newman first? And it's a tough one, because personally, I was Nick Newman, but I think Jack Sinclair's his run is much better, and his role is probably a bit more friendly. Honestly, he's in the midfield a bit more often, like only 30-40%, so nothing major. Where Nick Newman's purely off the halfback, takes a few kick-ins, but receives that a lot on the back line. Where Sinclair sort of does the best of both worlds. He gets the inside stoppage and then goes back and waxes where up when he can as well. So I'm probably leaning towards Sinclair more than I am Nick Newman now, with looking into it a little deeper. So I'm in all favour of everyone trading him in. He's put up 2 130s in the last 6 weeks, so yeah, he's shown a bit of a ceiling, shown some consistency with the 300s in there, but has dropped the 36 in there before. But I think a lot of defenders are doing that at this point in time. I think he'll be good to finish off the year, so I'd grab him if you can. He is below 900k. I think he's definitely snuck into the best 6 defenders for the rest of the season. Yeah, just hopefully we don't start to see some of these 60s, 70s that we saw early on in the year. James Peatling is one I do not like. I wasn't really keen on it last week, and I'm not going to be keen on it this week, because it is a very short-term play in my opinion. I get the last 3 he's been really good, and there's an argument to say that he's earned his spot in that midfield, but in hindsight, not in hindsight, just in reality, it's you've got Cogs and Kelly coming back into the side very, very shortly. If not this week, it'll be next week. Where are they? So that here's a test, and Kelly is due to be back. Yeah, will return Yeah, so Kelly's definitely going to return this week, whereas Canelio is a test play. So those two coming back definitely scares you, and you could definitely see Peatling being dropped as a sub again. There is an argument to say that he's earned this spot, and then with a bit of management, they might look to manage Cogs a little bit, put him forward like we have seen in the past. That is definitely a possibility. I'm not ruling that out at all. I just think that you're paying these guys, they're veterans of the club at this point in time. They've been so reliable all their career. Are you really going to drop them and move them out of position for a guy like James Peatling? I just don't see how that's going to stick long term. I think he may get a week or two out of it, but I'm definitely not going to get the remainder of the season for it. So yeah, I couldn't trade him in when you've got a likes of a Philippou who is cheaper. He's earned his role. He's showing that he's going to be a mainstay in that midfield, and he has a better run than what Peatling does as well. So I'd absolutely jump on a Philippou before a Peatling. Cherry is there at number 6 with 2.5k coaches trading him in. Yeah, just another great ruckman that you need to jump on. I jumped on 2 weeks ago and have been loving it ever since. He's got a great run, pardon me, to finish off. Eagles, Western Bulldogs, and the Hawks. So 3 easy matchups. Not the super easiest, I'll say. There's 2 lighter green ones. I think if I have a look here, North. So if I can highlight the right one. Eagles are a light green matchup, whereas Western Bulldogs are a super green matchup, and then Hawthorn are a light green matchup as well. So if I had the choice between trading in a Marshall or a Cherry, I'd probably go with a Marshall just because he has a better run. I know you're paying like 10k extra. It's not the money's not really a factor at this point in time, but I just think he has shown a higher ceiling with hitting those 170s. Whereas Cherry's only hit 150s, which only 150s is a bit of a luxury saying, but yeah, I think I'll go with Marshall just with his ability around the ground, kicking more goals as well. So, but Cherry is definitely a good option. I'd still absolutely trade him in. He's going to be a good captain option. Yeah, and you want him to finish off the year. Harvey Johnston is another rookie that you could look at. He has played 3 games, averaging 26.7. He's 200k, breaking 11, got North this week. He's just pretty much a basement rookie that he's playing. So if you are really strapped for cash, you want that extra 40k, or you need to pick up a mid or a forward, he's probably the guy just to go to, unless you already have some cover in that one. And then maybe I'd probably just suggest picking up a red dot just to finish off the year, just as a loop. But yeah, here's another one that you could pick up. Tom Powell's an interesting one that maybe needs some discussion because obviously you look at the scores, 122 and 116 in the last 2 weeks is phenomenal. This is what we saw from him at the start of the season. But my argument for not trading him in and why I'm not hugely a fan of it is that he's becoming that Mr. Fix-It guy for North at the moment. We've seen him, play a predominant midfield role. He sort of got pushed out of that with Sheasel coming in and Wardlaw and LDU and a few others. Simcom even coming back as well. So then he got shifted half forward, where he was getting some CBAs but playing predominantly half forward, kicking a few goals. And now he's sort of been pushed out of that role again and gone halfback even. And this role has been sticking a little bit for maybe the last 5-6 weeks, where he's put up a couple of 70s, 80s, and now he's just gone massive with 122 and 116. I just don't know where I see him long term with, the likes of maybe Fisher coming back. With McKerchick obviously came back in last week, didn't hinder him too much in terms of score. You got Jaden Stevenson, who they seem to like back there, even though he butchers the ball. I don't know. I don't know why they do it, but he's another one they favour back there. So it's just an interesting dynamic of what they're looking for. Who am I looking for? North. So I just couldn't trade him with all that being known, especially because Fisher is a test this week. Um, yeah, so I just don't think that's a possibility. Wardlaw is out for another week, so it could get some CBA. So it could be another safe hold if you really wanted to. I did hear that McKercher is still playing with a bit of foot soreness, so he is in doubt, but they haven't listed it here. So I think he's more than likely he will play. So I couldn't trade into it. If you have him, then you could probably just loop with him on as your F6, F7. Just see how it goes. Does have a good matchup against the Eagles, so I don't mind that there. Just one I personally couldn't trade into. We've already been burnt multiple times this year where we've traded someone out that we started with. We're talking about your Sextons, talking about Fishers, Power is just another one you want to add to the list that's you want to trade in to finish off the season. That we've traded out, traded back in, and it's burnt us twice. I just don't think we're that gullible again to do that. So I personally wouldn't do it, and I couldn't recommend anyone else to do it, unfortunately. One second. Nick Newman is the next one with 1.7k coach trading him in. So a lot of distribution this week, which is good to see. So we already spoke about him a little bit already. He's a bit more cheaper than the likes of the Sinclair. Has shown a pretty good ceiling with 145, 143, but has dropped a few below 100 in the last sort of 5-6 weeks with an 87, 97, and a 74. So again, dropping that stinky 74 that we've seen from a Sinclair as well. I think if you have the choice, as I said before, I think you're going with a Sinclair before you're going with a Nick Martin, just because he's probably got the higher floor. Where we've seen Sinclair only drop below 100 once in the last 6 weeks or something, where Newman has done it 3 times. The run's better for Sinclair, and I think the roll's just better overall. So if you have the option, I would just go with Sinclair. But Newman is definitely still a great option. I still think his top 6 to finish off the year. You know, we put up a list of names before where you got Whitfield probably number 1. He's been killing it. You've got probably Sheasel there alongside him. You've got, I wouldn't put Dacos in there just because he hasn't really shown much of a ceiling recently. But you've also got Sinclair. I'm struggling to think of names now. Who else am I looking at? Forget about it. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about trading titles. So Nick Newman, I still like him, but I definitely think you want him to finish off the season with his run and his capacity to go this massive score. So we've seen what Whitfield was able to do the Hawks to last week. We went 137. I'd expect something very similar with Nick Newman here. So good trade in there. Adam Chalor, I think it's a bit of a weird trade this week. Like, it's not the greatest matchup. You're not going to probably get this massive score that you're looking for. We have seen him struggle against tougher matchups, so he just doesn't have the best run for me. And as we all know, the runs are what I heavily rely on. So I personally couldn't do it. I'm just going to see out the season without him with the next couple, and particularly because he's got Bedford at the end, he could cop that tag where Bontempelli probably doesn't get it as much. Yeah, I personally wouldn't be able to do it, but I can see why you're doing it. Right, he's been an elite pick all year, very consistent. Hasn't really dropped below 80 his entire season. He's put up some big 150s, so couldn't talk you out of it. I think he just jumped to the top, which is something I don't mind. People trading in Max Gorn is an interesting one because I don't think it's the best option. Like, if I look at the run that Max has, he goes Port Adelaide this week, who Sweet has traditionally been an easy matchup, but he has slowly been getting tougher and tougher. We saw Grundy last week go 84. Like, you'd think Grundy would easily go a ton in that game, but he's actually been quite tougher recently. So I think Sweet starting to find his feet, and that makes him a tougher matchup. So besides that, the run is not great. He's going up against Wits, and he goes up against Darcy Cameron, who is a tougher matchup as well. So it's a one I couldn't recommend. I get he's been awesome all year, and he could definitely be the highest averaging player to finish off the season. I just think you're safer going with a Marshall and a Cherry than you are going with a Gorn, just because he is so unique, and it could definitely be quite a lonely island if something were to go wrong with that injury that he had. We'll quickly finish off here with a few more. Dylan Moore is another great trade in target. He's obviously I'd sort of slot him in there at the F5 point at this point in time. Good run to finish off the season with his next 2. Colton will be an interesting one there, a bit down on form, so could he go well there? Hopefully. Yeah, so he's just been consistent. Hasn't really dropped below what he's got put up by 73 4 weeks ago, but recently he's gone pretty much a 90 guy and put up quite a big ceiling of 127. So I think he's good enough to be there. Bontempelli is an interesting one down here as well, because there's been some news that recently today even that he is battling with an ankle soreness. So he is in some doubt for this round, so that would be a bit of a saving grace if we know tonight or Friday that he is out for the week. But more than likely he will play, and he could definitely put up a big score against the Crows. So, um, but yeah, I just don't see why it's super appealing. Like, look at his last four before the weekend: an 81, a 95, and two hundreds. It hasn't been anything amazing. Um, he just seems like when he goes big, like has a good game, he goes big. Like he had 135, 126, 142. There's been really no mediocre 100 sort of thing. He when he goes well, he goes massive. He doesn't really hit these 110s, 113s and stuff. He really goes big. So that is probably the scariest thing about him. I don't really know. I've had him all year, so yeah, it's a tough call. Just be wary of that ankleish injury. So maybe look elsewhere if you can. And I think that sort of finished it off, honestly. The couple rookies here that I don't really want to discuss. They're, I think, more red dot rookies. Roberts, people trading in probably is F7. Lucky Whitfield getting him in just because you want to. I don't mind it. He's got Bulldogs, Brisbane Lions this week, so it is tough to match up, but he's been killing it all year. Caldwell, yeah. Jack Steele was one I really like as well. He'll feature my captains in the next video, so hopefully you catch that. Zorko, against GWS, probably not looking at it as much, but yeah, you want to tidy that up if you can. And Tom Stewart as well. So yeah, besides that, a lot of F6 trades. So you got Rankin, you got Arena, and you got Cameron coming in. So yeah, a lot of people are looking at some different F6 options, if not F7. So I think everyone's got it down pat this time of year. It's all pretty straightforward. So yeah, what am I doing this week to finish off the video? So my trades did change a little bit from the Monday night or Sunday night video. So I've now traded out Dowling instead of a Kerno because I really want Kerno for the next 2 weeks, the next sort of 3 games where he's coming against Hawthorn, Eagles, and Saints, where he should go really well. He's chasing for a what's it called a Coleman. He's behind at the moment. I know there is some doubt. He's got some sort of niggling injury, so hopefully he's okay. I'll wait to hear a bit more about that, but I think he'll be fine. I particularly want him for this matchup and then obviously the week after. So, yeah, I want to hold him. So that's why I've made the decision that I'll just trade out Dowling and do that rookie downgrade instead of trading him to a Philippou. There's always a chance that I pick up Philippou next week with the likes of a Simkin coming up against the tougher matchup with Worcester Bulldogs and Hawks to finish off. But in saying that, I also need to look at trading out, a Jordan Clark who comes up against West Coast Eagles and Port to finish off. Same with Hayden Young. Nick Martin is another one that I want to look at trading out with Sydney and Brisbane Lions. So there's a lot of people that are sort of coming up against tough matchups. Even a Sarong is one I'm heavily looking at trading at next week, where he probably comes up against the Bedford tag. So that's probably another one that I need to lock in to trade next week. So yeah, there's a lot of different trades I want to look at. It's just how I could do that. And I think by banking this 189k for next week, I think that will allow me to do whatever I want. So I think this is looking a bit more long term than just focusing on the 1 week trade. So, but yeah, that's seemingly what I'm doing. This week, I'll more than likely do Cherry VC into Marshall. I think it's going to be pretty common across the competition. Stay tuned for the captain video on the Friday if you want to see my top 5 captains, and I'll go through that video. So check that out tomorrow. What else am I doing? I'm putting the emergency on Young on the bench. I expect them to go well. I'm concerned with the looping options because obviously Barnett plays the third game of the round early on Saturday. So I just really want to lock in that looping option early on. Doesn't hurt to have him just on the bench, and then I can put the C on him at some point because Barnett locks out at the same time as a Cherry, so I won't be able to do that afterwards. So just keep that in mind. I do have a few other looping options like a Garcia, but yeah, I want to loop between Manor and Kerno, and then obviously what's his name, Humphreys against a couple others as well. So yeah, that would be me. That will be me for this video. Sorry, I'm stumbling already. If you have any questions, drop them below. Oh, that's what I need to do. I need to go through all the questions. Sorry, guys, I nearly left you without doing it. Let me get that up real quick. Sorry, I have not been prepared for this. But yeah, drop any questions you have below. I'll answer them before the Friday lockout for you guys. Where are we at? Don't have too many questions coming up, which is good. I think everyone understands what they're doing at this time of year. All right, so question comes in from user Philippou or Peatling. I've clearly answered that in this. I would absolutely go Philippou over Peatling for all the reasons that he's earned his role. He's going to be inside that mid. He doesn't have any teammates that are going to take that role off of him. He's shown a higher, floor where he's gone 90s and he comes against good matchups, better run. Yeah, simple as that. Just go Philippou. I don't think you'll won't regret it. Next question comes from JAFLBT. Which two go out of Young, Dacos, Sarong, and Grundy? Have 300k in the bank, so whoever I trade out will be going to the top of the line primo like Marshall, Newman, Dunkley, and Brayshaw. Okay, so who would I trade out of Young, Dacos, Sarong, and Grundy? So I think you're keeping Sarong this week. He's got Cats, easy good matchup. Same with Young. I think they stay. Grundy's the one I think you need to trade out. He has been so far off the pace of, the Marshall, the Cherries. So here's the one I'd absolutely be trading out. So Grundy to Marshall, lock that in with that 300k in the bank. And then it's what you do with that second trade. Let's quickly look at Dacos, see if I can find him. I assume he was there, but it's not. If I can spell his name right. Dacos, he comes up against Sydney this week, so could possibly find itself with tag. And then he comes with Bristol Lions, and then against Melbourne. So tough run, as we have spoken about in the last couple of weeks, but he hasn't copped much attention. I think what you'll find is that trading out a Dacos to, if you don't have a Sinclair, I'd go there first. But if you already do, then go Newman. I think you're pretty much going to get very similar points, if not a lot more, with a few higher ceilings in the last few weeks from him. I wouldn't be going to Dunkley this week, given that they have GWS and he could definitely cop a Bedford tag. I do think it goes to Lockie Neal, but there's every chance it could go to Dunkley. And Brayshaw's also got a tough run to finish off the year. I know he's got a good matchup this week, but the next couple are definitely a lot tougher. So I wouldn't be looking at Brayshaw. So I'd lock in Grundy to Marshall and then Dacos to Newman, I'd say. Next question comes from Kate. Liking the new format. Weekly ranking was 349. Wow, that's massive. Ranked through 3003. Wow, that's really good. Keen to improve rank, but also have this week off in my league. And I'd like to win. So a bit of torn. Option 1, Steele, Philippou. Loop option this week. 2 good matchups, but end up on Blues tag. Who are you talking about there? You're talking about Steele getting a tag? Definitely could get a tag, because they do finish off with the Carlton. The thing with Chincotta, he's not tagging as much recently. I do say that in my captain video, but yeah, he's not tagging as much. I think the only tag one we really need to be careful of is Bedford, who seems to be doing it every single week. Whereas Chincotta's sort of hit and miss. Like, he didn't really do anything to... who did they play last week? I don't even know who they played, but yeah, he didn't really do a whole lot. So I wouldn't be locking in that Chincotta tag. So I really like Steele and Philippou, or you're going Newman. Tough. Or match everyone with Trelaw for the last 3 games. I wouldn't be matching Trelaw just for the sake of it. I think we're a bit smarter than that. We're not just chasing, matchups. I think if you're trying to be a bit different and trying to jump up in rank and improve, I'd probably just go with Steele and Philippou. I think they're going to provide you the best one. I think you definitely want Steele next week and Philippou even next week as well, because that's when your next matchup comes up. I think you're going to want both of those in the Cats game, where they both should go massive. So I think that's pretty simple. Go with the Steele and Philippou option. Next question comes from Power Prawn Stars. Hello, mate. Finally getting my last rookie off field. I feel you, mate. Had 800k in Humphreys in the mid. I'm seriously thinking of going Willem Drew. He's on fire at the moment. I honestly haven't looked at Willem Drew. I know Port are absolutely firing, and it's probably the fit why he's going so well. I just couldn't do it. He's dropped a few 30, 40s, 50s, 60s. I get he's on some hot form right now, but I just don't see that sticking around. The run isn't great either. I think we've got some better options that have been proven. I think if you got the coin there, there's no reason why you just don't go to the top if you can. What you say, you have Humphreys and you have 800k. Humphreys and 800k, if you drop that down to 200k, you should have 1.1 mil to do whatever you want. So I'd highly recommend going, who's the best trading target? Probably Steele. If not the Port Boys, they have good runs home. Anderson even, he's a bit more risky pick, but he's always good. Who's some other good inside of mids that we're looking at? Gordon has a good finish off, so if you don't have Gordon, jump on him. Like I said, not Dunkley, not Brayshaw, not jumping on any of the Port Boys, not jumping on Tom Green. Yeah, there's probably better options there. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. And finally, a couple questions from the other video. Grundy to Marshall and Myers to Philippou, or Grundy to Gawn and Dowling to Philippou and Luke Myers. Oh, that's an interesting one because it looks like you're getting another primo. So I just think you have to go Grundy to Marshall. I don't want to mess around too much with the Gawn thing. He has a tougher run. He's obviously still a bit under an injury cloud where he's still struggling a little bit on field. So I think you just play a bit of a straight bet here where you go Grundy, Marshall, and Myers to Philippou. It's probably a bit of a boring play, but I think that's probably going to be the best option for you long term. Next question comes from Sean. Who to pick up out of Moore, Power, and Philippou? Can't loop as I have no red dots in the forward line. Be interesting to see who your trades are, but if I had to pick between Moore, Power, and Philippou, it's definitely out of Moore and Philippou, sorry. I think you just go with Philippou. The role was there. That you're paying a lot less, so a lot less risk. Leaves you cash for next week for trades again. Has shown a higher ceiling and not a higher ceiling, a higher floor when he hasn't dropped below 90 in this role. Whereas Moore plays this more high half forward, and when he gets the ball, it's in patches. So yeah, I think I'll just go with Philippou there. And finally, the last question comes from Liam. I think you got Liam done. Oh yeah, that's not even a question. That's just stating the fact that I made a mistake in my review video. So that's all the questions. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and I will catch you guys in the captain's video. Make sure you check that out. Please leave a like, subscribe, and hopefully you have a great weekend. I'll see you then. Bye.